Hey everybody, welcome to the Vegas Nation Fan Zone. It's Heidi Fang here, your Vegas Nation podcast host, and sometimes get out and do all kinds of things for your Raiders. So I'm very excited to be here today, talk to you all again. Every month we get to do this, and I've got questions for you. I'm sure you have questions for me. Don't forget, check out everything that we're doing, vegasnation.com. Also, I'm going to get to your questions. If you put them in that YouTube comment box, I'll happily answer anything you throw my way. So please go ahead, use that feature that we have available there. Also, tweet to me if you want at Heidi Fang on Twitter. That's HEIDIFANG, Heidi Fang on Twitter. All right, so let's get into some questions that I had already. I got them stored up for you. So I want to get to the first few that I had received. The first one, what can the Raiders get done through virtual OTAs? Well, if 2020's rookie class had any, I guess, proof of what we saw in development from there, it's really rough. And from when I spoke with different people, I spoke with Javen White, for instance, a linebacker with the Raiders. He had spoke to me about how hard it is to really apply the concepts that you have in OTAs and you're reading from a book to the field in real time and absorb them until you can actually run through the reps, get into training camp. So that's something that I think has been a struggle for a lot of the rookies, but we'll see if that can change this season. Hopefully, looking forward to getting more reps in the off season. Right now, with the phase 2 of the off season voluntary workout program, we're able to see some of the different guys get actual reps, and also the Raiders taking it upon themselves to work out on their own at a park here in Las Vegas. So we've seen that happen. So I think that having those two things has worked out well for the team. Let's get to this other question I have here. How many rookies do I see playing this season? That's a great question. There are 7, obviously, that the Raiders drafted for the 2021 draft class. When I start looking it over, round 1, Alex Leatherwood. Leatherwood, I would say, is definitely a plug and play starter. Trevon Merrick, definitely a starter, I would say. When you go to the others that came in on defensive end, Malcolm Kuntz and Divine Diablo, I think those guys may be more for depth and come in at different points as they start to develop. Nate Hobbs, the same. Perhaps even with Diablo and Hobbs, those guys are competing right away for a starting spot, because I think what we've seen from last year's Raiders defense is that the secondary needs a lot of work. And if there's one of these guys here that's pushing one of the ones to get more playtime, I wouldn't put it aside from John Gruden's thoughts at all to say that he would right away look at somebody with a lot of talent that can bring something to this team right away to plug and play them as a starter as well. Tyree Gillespie, same. I would go also with Jimmy Morrissey as depth. They seem to be locked in on Andre James at center, but it obviously doesn't hurt to have offensive line depth and to have people that you can work in. So I would say Jimmy Morrissey depth, but with the possibility of starting a couple games this year. You never know, especially with the longer season, how the health of the players is going to be as the season progresses. Okay, next question. Will the mini camp next month be in person, and how important would that be? So important, as I said earlier, with the off-season program and the ability for these players to get in and then immediately start out with getting reps and immediately be able to go against somebody. There's a different thing about practice adrenaline, in-game adrenaline, and how you apply it when you're challenged against somebody else that is a peer on your team and getting the camaraderie together for the team. These are all things I think are very important that we need to see this team gel with this year. And I think everybody that is watching would definitely agree that those are some of the things that you want to see your Raiders team do, is take a huge jump from what you saw last year to this year. The previous seasons, you had 7 wins. This season, now you got 8 wins. Every Raider fan wants this team in the playoffs. It's due time. So I think that's where you start to think, how does that jump happen? It starts building in mini camps, getting the team together, building the camaraderie amongst everybody. This is a very young team overall when you look at it. And I think that getting a veteran presence on this team is going to be very important. Having people that can help lead the team is going to be very important. And having people that can help build the brotherhood amongst this team is going to be very important. And I think that one of the key players, and a lot of people are looking to see how they immediately come in and have an impact with this team, is Yannick Ngakoue. So hopefully with his presence on defense and knowing the Gus Bradley system and being able to be effective in it, he might be somebody that a lot of the younger defensive players look to right away to get a boost in their game. So let's look here. I'm going to go into the fan zone, check out somebody here, see who's listening, see who's watching, see what we can do with the comments. Excuse me, let me move this one. And where are the comments? Sorry, guys, bear with me. Well, in other news, we look at the schedule. It's pretty interesting because this year the Raiders are facing, I believe, if I'm counting right, 7 teams that have been in the playoffs in the past. So it's going to be nuts just to see how the season goes. One thing I can say about the schedule that I didn't say in the podcast that I had looked at earlier was that um, they don't have as many games that are for these long and away game stands like we saw last year. The Raiders travel isn't as bad as what I'm trying to say, so I think that's going to help them on the schedule. And also Todd Dewey wrote about, and he's our sports betting columnist, he wrote about what games the Raiders are favored in. So let me get to that. They're actually favored in 6 games, all at Allegiant. So you have -1.5 over the Chargers, -2.5 over the Broncos. Washington football team, they're favored at -3.5. I'm sorry, that's at -2.5 for Washington football team, -3.5 at Bears, and Philadelphia Eagles is at -4.5. So those are some interesting numbers to start off with, and the Cincinnati Bengals as well as the other one. So that rounds out all the ones that they're favored in, all at home, which is interesting considering at Allegiant they only had 2 wins there last year. So it looks like the sports books are counting on Raider Nation to bring that hometown feel to Allegiant Stadium, to give these guys home field advantage in the numbers that's showing. So they're underdogs at home only to the Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys. So home underdogs to the Ravens, and obviously they're on the road against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. So those are the ones that are notable that they were not favored in. So this will be interesting to see during the season how that comes out. We know once it gets down to it, but these are the lines right now on the 272 NFL games. You can check that out on ReviewJournal.com by Todd Dewey. Also yesterday, some more news. The Raiders came to terms with 3 rookie draft picks, Tyree Gillespie, Nate Hobbs, and also Jimmy Morrissey. So those guys are all locked in to be on the team this year. Barring anything crazy that happens, because I talked a lot about Tanner Muse last year and then we never saw a rep out of him. So here's some questions. I got Raiders for life. So wondering if you guys are going to be allowed in the Raiders facility when OTAs are going. I'm really hoping that that does happen. I've been speaking with some of my sources out there, and the feeling is that we're going to have to go through some of the COVID protocols as we did last year, which means basically testing every single day that you go, and also wearing the masks, and wherever you are on property, you can't take it off. So throughout the entire time that you're there, mask on, test. And those are things that you have to go through as protocol. So even if I'm not working that day and I plan to go to a practice, I have to go to get tested every day. So that's something that was in the protocols. I don't know how the NFL is approaching it this year. It was also down to only 10 people, I believe. I think it was 10 last year, maybe 12 at most. Only 10 media could attend per session. So it was really a skeleton crew, if you will. You saw a lot of your regular folks, but there's some people that, wasn't open to, just because you had to be able to make the testing protocol. You had to be able to be there through all the different ways and do everything that, was in the NFL protocols. So if well, we get that list, I'll be able to get more information. But Looks like we're not going to probably be able to attend anything to cover it until mini camp. So that would be June. Also, Raiders for Life. And also, will you guys be able to get exclusive interviews with coaches and players on your guys' channel? Yeah, actually, that's what I do. On my show Takeaways, I just sent in a request to get a player. So this week I spoke with Steve Levy from ESPN. You guys know him. He's been on the Monday Night Football programs. I talked to him about the Raiders matchups for Monday Night Football. So that's going to be dropping tomorrow. But if you haven't checked out my podcast Takeaways, that's where I get the interviews with the guys. We also put them up on our shows. If we had the game day show, you can go back, find some interviews there. Most recently, I spoke with John Simpson. I spoke with Amik Robertson. I spoke with Jonathan Abrams. So there's different players that I've had the opportunity to speak with. We just had Mark Davis last week, and I played some of that on my show as well. That one came from like a joint scrum with other media. So there was like 5 people around Mark Davis shooting out questions, but I took all the ones that we asked and put them together. So yeah, that was on my last week's episode with the schedule release. So anytime you want to find your players, your coaches, all of that, always come over to the Takeaways podcast. And I'm doing the best I can to get as many top level players and different, scopes from even outside, different analysts that can talk about Raiders and things like that on the show. So always happy to do that for you guys. Mike, I hope I'm not gonna try your last name. I'm sorry. It's a lot of stuff there that I don't know if I'm gonna say it right, and I don't want to make it wrong. So he says Gus Bradley has a more simple defensive scheme, which will help our secondary play fast and think less. And I'm hoping the main benefactor of that defense would be Jonathan Abram, also Damon Arnett, because I think with Arnett, I think he can definitely take a big leap. And I think he's one of the players, and Abram, that you guys need to have take the biggest leaps of all out of all the players. So Raiders for life, get vaccinated. I am actually, and I think that the rules are going to be different for people who are versus people that aren't when it comes to the NFL protocols this year. So we'll see how that works out. They already sent out something about vaccinations to players and staff for the teams and how the different protocols will work for people who are versus people who aren't. So I'm hoping that being vaccinated is going to help me in the Raiders coverage this year, that I'll be allowed to have a little bit more access, but we'll have to see how it all goes. So let me see what else. There's something here. I want to get down to it, but I can't get it. It won't scroll. It's stuck. Raiders for life. I'm sorry. And if I think you guys could actually interview some of these Raiders YouTubers and vice versa and go on their shows. I do. You need to subscribe to Takeaways, Mr. Raiders for Life. I actually do that. I just spoke with Kenny King Jr. I've spoken with Raider Cody. I have other people that I've been able to come on with the show. There's a Cover 3 Deep podcast. I think I'm doing that one right. The Autumn Wind guys podcast. I had been on their show. They came on mine. So I've been going through all those. Eddie Borsilli, he's on a show that is, I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but I know where it is, Eddie. It's on Raiders Beat. And I've had him on mine. He's been on, ours. We've gone on each other's shows. So yes, those are things that I do pretty regularly. I was on another show with a great group of folks as well that had me on the Facebook page, Raider Tone. So always going out, always trying to, intertwine the group. So just check out on my Takeaways podcast. All these interviews are there with these different people that run all these podcasts. RJ Clifford was on the Autumn Windbags, Eddie Borsilli as well. So I'm doing a lot of stuff, mixing in as many different voices as I can on the show from other shows that I've been able to see. I've got some of the fans that came on. Violator, he's a regular guy that comes on the show with us. So yeah, always happy to get in there. Some Raider YouTubers are almost up to like 10,000 subscribers. So it's just many of them. And I feel like your guys' channel would, and this is where my thing is cutting off. I'm sorry. I can't read the bottom. But yeah, I definitely try Raiders for Life. So if you have any recommendations, go ahead and drop them right here in the comments, Raiders for Life. I'll be happy to try to reach out to that person, get them on my show. We'll have a sit down, we'll talk. It'd be fun. So I appreciate you guys all for listening. That's pretty much all the questions and everything I have for today. But yeah, again, just drop the names and I'll be happy to do it anytime. So thanks a lot and appreciate your guys' time coming in, speaking with me, spending the time. Have a great day, Raider Nation.